Alright, so I'm gonna start beveling my sword. To try and make it a little easier on me, I've scribed a center line in soapstone. Could use chalk. I tried running a line up and then kind of decided I'd just eyeball it. And figure what relatively close. So the plan is to, basically just bevel that way, this side of the line, and that way, that side of the line. So, so my center ridge hopefully my center ridge will be in the center of the sword, not off to the side. Another reason why I left the tip a little bit extra thick, in case I screw it up a bit. But yeah, you all know how to bevel, don't you? I guess I should probably explain it just in case there's one person out there who doesn't. You should probably know how to bevel. I mean, it's super self-explanatory. You just hold the steel at an angle on the edge of the anvil and you just hammer it down at an angle. So yeah, the angle of the bevel is created by the angle at which you hold it, and you want it at the edge of the anvil so that your hammer doesn't end up marking the face. So if you did it there and you went it, if you did it in the middle and you were a little bit off the edge, you'd end up hitting your anvil and you can damage the face on it, especially a little one like this. I think this is just cast steel and it marks really easy. So yeah, just gonna use the edge of it. Hopefully I've got enough room in here. Yeah, oh well, it's not the best anvil in the world, but it works. Alright, so didn't really show you very much of the beveling. I mean, it's a bit too self-explanatory. After I beveled it, it was a bit wavy on the blade, so I then straightened it out, which again is pretty straightforward. There's light flat on the anvil, find where it rises up off of the anvil, mark that with a piece of chalk, put it in the bow, get it up, anvil, hammer it flat, check both sides, and do that, working my way along the blade. Very easy. There is a twist in the blade. Blade ends up in that plane here, but it's a few degrees rotated out here. It's also got a slight curve in it, but my plan is I'm going to build a trench forge in the ground so they can heat this whole thing up to do a heat treat. When I've got that done, I'll be able to heat up large sections of this and put it on a section of railway track that I've gotten for a longer anvil. Yeah, when I can heat up larger sections of it, I'll put it on the railway track that I'm going to polish up and use as an anvil so I can straighten large sections, because there's definitely some light coming out when I put it on the longer section. Yeah, more of the curve is visible when you level it on a longer section. Alright, I'm going to grind it and leave the edge about 2mm thick all the way along and kind of round it so there's no sharp edges to give stress rises to cracking heat treat. So then after I've heat treated it, then I'll grind the edges on, just to help prevent the blade cracking in the heat treating process. That's the plan so far. So here is my setup for my trench forge. It's a long trench, long enough to fit the blade of my sword in. It's 2 bricks high with dirt on the sides to insulate it. I got my heat gun there. You could probably get away with sears and, I don't know, hot air dryer or something similar. That's just going to be my air source. There's a 20mm pipe running in there. The transition from the heat gun to the pipe, that was an old energy drink can that I just cut the ends off with a angle grinder cut off disc, cut up the side and made a funnel, wrapped it up. Should hopefully, I don't know, I might have to put something along there to stop coals coming back and burning it. Yeah, I might just put an extra brick there. And so yeah, what I've got is every about every 2.5 centimeters I've cut a slit in the pipe with a angle grinder and a cutoff disc, and so that's where the air is going to come out, and of course I've blocked off the end. Now once this gets up enough pressure, it should be even. We'll find out if the air coming out of these is even, because then the temperature will be even. Don't know yet. We will find out if there's any hot or cold spots. But now I need to get a fire going in there and fill this up with charcoal. And when this has got a good hot layer in it, then I can start moving my, then I can start heating up my sword. Let's just talk about the heating process. I want to heat it up in line with the edge, strapping down. If I do it like that, there's a chance it'll warp in line with the flat of the blade. So, where if I do it this way, it's more likely to probably curve in line with the edge. It may saber. I might end up with a slight curve in it, which I would prefer to avoid, because this is meant to be a straight sword. But there's more mass in this plane, so there's more resistance to it sabering. Now, to get it to not saber, I need to make sure that the heat throughout is completely even. If it's hotter on one side than the other, it will curve. So it's better that I'm going to be doing this slower than faster. And when it's in here, I'm not just going to put it in there and leave it. I'm going to have to keep moving it. In case there are hot spots, I don't want it to overheat in one place and just burn away. And I'll be checking it. I have ground and polished this. It's got about, I was hoping to have about a 2mm edge all the way along, but it's more like 1 to 2mm, but it's completely rounded. I do not want 90-degree angles or sharp corners on the edge. It's all nice and smooth, because sharp areas create stress rises and increase the chance of it cracking in heat treat. So it's quite smooth now. I'll have to grind in the edges when it's hardened and then tempered. Want to grind it after it's tempered. Definitely do not want to grind this when it's completely hard. Then I would risk cracking it. Alright. Okay, so I should probably give you an update. My Alright, so I should probably give you an update on my longsword. I've done my bevels. Quick tip. For beveling and doing swords and stuff where you want to get really close to the final process, coke or coal is not a very good fuel option. If you get a small amount of coke or coal that's just the size of a grain of sand on your piece when you are hammering, yeah, you will end up hammering that into it and then you've got to grind it out. It's a real pain. One of the reasons why I prefer charcoal is because if it was a piece of charcoal, it would just get pulverized. Or at least that's my theory. I don't have as much trouble with deep pit marks when I'm working with just charcoal. For you people working with propane, it's not an issue either. But now it's really close to the end result. For straightening, I kind of want to avoid using steel tools to hammer it straight. So I've got a flat piece of wood, a flat 2x4, and another piece of wood that I can use, just lightly tap it to help straighten it. I've done some more straightening, I've done lots of grinding, I've ground the edges to be straight, which involved running lines along them and grinding it off. Making sure the whole blade is straight overall, tweaking it, quite a bit of work off camera. Yeah, now we're at make or break time. Quite a stressful time doing the hardening process because your quenching can either make a sword or break a sword. Of course there's the third option that it just doesn't harden it, which honestly that's better than it snapping or cracking. But yeah, quite a stressful period. All of the hours I've put into this could be a complete waste of time, and I could be left with scrap metal. Fun. Yeah, there's a slight twist in it, just ever so much. I'd want to take out when it's nice and hot. I need to anneal it, which will be heating it up to critical temperature and then just holding it up and with the pointing straight down, making sure it's still straight and just letting it cool. I'm going to do that 3 times, and then I'm going to bring it up to critical. I'm going to put it into my quench tank. I've aligned my quench tank with north. The tip of the sword is going to be pointing to magnetic north. It's going to go in, move it back and forth within its own, moving it back and forth within its own profile. I want to move it, you know, towards the point and then towards the pommel, not side to side or anything. We don't want steam pockets building up. We also don't want to be waving it around in the oil because that can make it bend as well. So yeah, quite a stressful time. The sun's going down. I don't need total darkness to do this. I just really need some decent shade to do this. It sucks doing it in direct sunlight because it's harder to judge the colours. But yeah, we may be doing this in the dark depending on how long the fire takes to get going. Alright, so I think the very end of this forge is hotter than the front, so that end seems to be getting more airflow for some reason, which is bad because that's the narrow end of the sword. See? So that end would heat up faster anyway. So I just got to keep making sure I take it in and out. Try and make sure I keep it even. The temperature, don't let it overheat. Don't let it burn. Another reason why charcoal is better than coke or something like that, you could not do this with a coke fire. Because coke is basically just rock. Same with coal, it's too solid. If you tried to put something this hot, this narrow, to a coke fire, you'd just bend the hell out of it. I'll bring it back when we get hotter. Yeah, for some reason the middle seems to be heating up the fastest. But, yeah. We're getting it pretty pink. We don't need it blazing. A lot of people go really bright, but it's not necessarily necessary. Not every steel needs to be glowing orange. Yeah, critical. See? Not an even heat. Say we're almost ready for the first, I want to get that tip a little bit hotter and we'll be ready to let it cool for the first annealing. Right, and it is a scimitar. Right, so my piece of wood. Yeah. What the? It's just turned into a scimitar. Right. It's warping. Could partly be just because of gravity, but alright. Because they're so narrow and so thin. Wish I had a bit more light to see in. I could see what I'm doing a bit better. The other way. Yeah, I'll do that a few times, and when after at least 3 times, if it's straight, I'll quench it. Alright, the hardening was a success. Well, partial success. I was able to harden about half of the length of the blade. I'm thinking that there may have... the forge just didn't seem to be getting hot enough over a long enough section. I think I may have to increase the airflow for future projects. But the point of percussion is hardened, below the point of percussion is hardened, and all the way to the tip is hardened. I'm okay with that because it is straight in profile. There is some warping distally. The twist I was able to remove, and so after I've tempered it, I may be able to get that little bit of a bow near the tip out. There's a slight warping in the direction of the flat. But Matt Easton did a video where he removed warping out of antique store. Matt Easton did a video where he took the warp out of some antique swords. So I'm going to try that after I've triple tempered this. I'm going to do tempering in the next video. Now you may be wondering, what is this dark section? I believe that is just where it got a little bit too hot at one point in the cycle of heating and annealing, and that's just scale. But I am very, very happy there are no cracks in this. So this is my... I have treated the longsword. Below halfway, the strong of the blade, as it's called, is, well, it should be unhardened in theory, but it's going to get tempered as well, so the area where you block ideally with the sword should be nice and soft, and the area where you cut and thrust should be hardened. That was not my original intent. It was just an accident caused by not being able to heat a long enough section of the blade. The center ridge is not perfect. It's a bit wobbly. Yeah. But yeah. That's, with better machining and with better machining skills, you should be able to get that flat. I'm thinking maybe I should have made flat. I'm thinking maybe I should have first ground it flat, so that the central ridge would have a continuous taper and then grind the side. I think on my next sword I might do it all with grinding. I remember, yes, I did do a video saying that hammering the bevels was faster, and it does seem to be, but then you get the twisting and stuff. I want to try it again. Also, I believe that part of my problem with my last time I tried grinding something this size was that I was using really cheap grinding discs, so I'll try it with some better quality grinding discs next time. But yeah, just need to true up down this section, and after I temper it. And yes, I will have to be very careful with this blade until I temper it, because it should be as hard and brittle as glass. So keep it protected until I can temper it.